There once was a union maid, she never was afraid of dudes and gigs and company pigs and deputy sheriffs who made the raid. She went to Union Hall when a meeting was called, and when the company boys came round, she always stood her ground. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union, I'm sticking to the union, I'm sticking to the union. Oh, you can't scare me, I'm sticking to the union, I'm sticking to the union till the day I die. Here we go.
Tell me your name real quick and what you're saying about the general strike.
Well, the democracy's been is broken because big money's taken in the democracy and just bought it up here at the Capitol. Both houses of the legislature are controlled by big money. The governor's controlled by big money, and they come up here and all the decisions are already made. They pretend they go through the democracy, but it's just pretend democracy. They don't really discuss anything. Everything's already figured out. It's modern day fascism is going on here, and it's going on in other states, and it's time for the people to stand up and stop it, because we don't. We deserve to live in our sewer.
Thank you very much.
President of the Wisconsin State AFL-CIO. I want to invite you all to join us in a rally for solidarity outside in about 10 minutes. Let's show Wisconsin that we're standing together, united, right? All right, I'll see you outside. Let's go.
Here's my thinking.
If they want to hear an alternative version, tell them to call me. I'll give them the real story.
Alternative version of reality.
My name's Dale Dolbiger. I'm from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. I'm here obviously to fight against right to work. It's a movement to really take away basic human rights or basic rights that workers have, and I'm here to kind of raise my voice and hopefully rally people to turn this back.
I understand infamously that you ran against Walker one time. Can you describe that campaign?
Yeah, in 1996 I ran in Wauwatosa. I earned about 40% of the vote in the community. Interesting as it may be, Walker's prime central issue was partial birth abortion. You know, he was a really right to life evangelist. You know, he was lucky to actually even get elected. He ran in a primary, split the vote among a lot of moderates, and just squeaked in. So even then, at the beginning, you know, he didn't have a lot of support. But he unfortunately is an opportunist that is really weasel his way into office. So
and that office was that you ran for then.
Right, the state representative position.
What do you think about the issues then compared to now? I mean, how do you see that evolution of his being embraced by, you know, the Koch brothers, and you know, it's a little different from the right to life issue?
It's very sad when 60% of the money that comes in to support Scott Walker's from outside the state. You know, he really doesn't have the support for people in the state of Wisconsin, and he's got to rely on kind of big money donors in order to get by. He's very deceitful. He makes people think that he's really on their side, but in reality, he's very dishonest, and I assume you could very easily call him a liar. He went around the state of Wisconsin, and when he was running for the recall, he said we don't want Wisconsin to become another Milwaukee. Really openly racist kind of statements, that he really thrived on in terms of dividing people, trying to divide and conquer people in the state. I just hope that enough people wake up in a short enough time to see that where he's leading us is really a dangerous place.
Thank you very much for the interview. I much appreciate it.
So please, if you haven't signed up to testify, make sure you head up to room 411 South and do so. It's your right. Don't give it up. But right to work in Wisconsin is not the Wisconsin way. This bill is an attack on all Wisconsin families. It's an attack on our paychecks. It's an attack on our ability to put food on the table and a roof over our head. And it's an attack on our rights as workers. So who's pushing this bill? Well, we know it's out of state special interests that are pushing this bill. They don't care if you have a good job with decent benefits. They don't care if you can send your kids to college or afford to save for a future. They don't care what happens to your retirement. They want power. They want more profits. And they want to do it on the backs of the workers. We know, and history teaches us, it's a strong union movement that builds the middle class and lifts all boats. Unions set the standards in terms of wages and working conditions, not just for our members, but for all workers and families in our community. There is nothing more American than workers coming together through their unions, to stick together, to join together, to have each other's backs in the workplace, and that's what we're doing here today. We're coming together to have each other's backs, right? Unions lead to a better trained workers, safer workplaces, and a strong, stable middle class. It provides opportunity for those in our community to access family-supporting jobs. So why in the world would we want to mess with that, right? We didn't send our elected officials to Madison to rush through legislation in an undemocratic way, to limit debate in an extraordinary way on an important economic issue. Important economic issues for our families and for the entire state. We sent politicians to work to Madison for working families, to create jobs, to raise wages for workers, and to make sure that every person in Wisconsin has a chance at the American dream. Bill that they're proposing does just the opposite. We know right to work will lower wages for hard-working Wisconsinites. So, we are ready, aren't we? Right? We're ready? So right to work will not create jobs, and it will put downward pressure on our entire economy. Right to work puts the American dream further out of reach for too many Wisconsinites. So that's what we're doing here. We're here to stand up for our communities. We're ready to make our voices heard. We're ready to stand up and fight together for justice, and not just for today, tomorrow, but next week, and for years into the future. That's what the labor movement is here for, is to work justice for workers in our communities, in our workplaces. We're ready to stand together and fight for workers' right to unionize. We're ready and we're here to participate in democracy, to lobby our elected officials from the ground up, and hope that those elected officials hear us when we tell them to stop right to work. This is the democratic way, brothers and sisters. This is the Democratic Assembly of Wisconsinites. Look around you. That's what this is. That's what the people in the building are. This is what makes our state and our country strong. People from all walks of life, from all sectors of the economy coming together to fight for economic justice, to fight for economic opportunity, to fight for better wages and working conditions, to fight for a strong middle class and a better day. That's what we're doing here, right? Wisconsin State AFL-CIO, solidarity! Our next speaker is Simeon from the United Steelworkers of America.
I'm way down here. Can you hear me? Sisters and brothers, my name is Cindy Oden, and I'm a steel worker and a lifetime resident of Wisconsin. Something is wrong in our state. Something is wrong in our state when our legislators try to push a bill through that will hurt all Wisconsin families. They must not think we're going to keep them accountable at the ballot box. Well, I'm a grandmother, and today I'm fighting for my grandchildren's future. I have to because apparently our election officials won't. They know that workers in right-to-work states make less. They know that right-to-work legislation attacks workers' ability to band together and to negotiate for better working place conditions. They know that the right-to-work states that pay a gap between women and men is even higher than it is around the country. So why are we debating right-to-work? Are we not loud enough? I think we are, but they're not listening. Today we have to be louder than in 2011. Today we have to talk to our fellow Wisconsinites and educate them that this is not just an attack on unions. This is an attack on all Wisconsin families. And we're not going to stand for it, right? Thank you.
Hey, next I'd like to introduce a member from the UAW and the head of the Milwaukee Labor Council, Sheila Cochran.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters, and let me say how wonderful you look right now. I tell you, I've been hearing all day, well, they may not get 100,000, but I don't care how many of you are. You look damn good from up here. I'm also a member of the proud coalition of black trade unionists. And today I want to say to you, this bill, this mess that they are bringing upon the state of Wisconsin is nothing more than a way to legalize and divide and conquer us within our workplaces. Just like they did it down south, and just like they want to bring it up here. The segregationist South put this in place to keep white men and white women from having to work with black brothers and sisters, because that is not what they wanted to say to each other. But let me tell you today, as a black woman, a member of the UAW, and a card-carrying member for over 40 years, I am damn proud to say thank you, my brothers and sisters, for being here today. It's a hard lesson that we have to learn. But sometimes, when you reach way back and you look at your history, you know why you are who you are. I know why steel workers are steel workers. I know why UAW members are UAW members. I know damn well why iron workers are iron workers. And I know why food and commercial workers are who they are. dangerous places. We have helped that safety come up. We have pulled those wages up. We have done the job that our fathers and brothers and sisters and mothers and forefathers wanted us to do. Now is the time for us to stand strong. Now is the time for us to look toward our future, and now is the time for us to bring our young people along. As we try to organize fast workers and low-wage workers and immigrant workers, now is the time to teach them the glorious history of this movement. We don't turn our heads in this kind of destruction. We look forward and we go forward in this world. Now is that time. We don't have time for pussyfooting around and being sweet about this mess, because that's all it is. Now is that time. And I swear to you, my brothers and sisters, we stand in solidarity with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Next, I'd like to introduce from the building trades, Darren Olson.
Hello, sisters and brothers. I can't hear you. Now that's better. My name is Darren Olson. I'm a laborer. I'm an activist, a union member, a veteran, and a man of faith. I've lived in Wisconsin a long time. I grew up in Barron. My father and mother still live there. My brother works at a cheese factory. How Wisconsin is that? I'm here today to say that right to work is wrong for Wisconsin. You know, the folks pushing right to work like to talk a lot about freedom. I joined the Army when I was 17 years old, and for 25 years I defended freedom. You know what freedom looks like to me? Freedom looks like making a good living, having a voice in the workplace, and being able to take my dad to a doctor's appointment. The millionaires and billionaires pushing right to work in Wisconsin could care less about our freedom. What they really care about is silencing our voices. So we can't advocate for good wages and working conditions. They know that we raise the standard. We see families in right-to-work states make an average of $5,000 less per year than they would in states like ours. Just as bad in those states, my nieces and nephews would have to fight even harder for equal pay that they deserve. It insults me that billionaires and millionaires think it's okay to create a low-wage state like Oklahoma, so my relatives would have to grow up in. After I retired from the Army, I spent 2.5 years in Haiti as an aid worker. After we cleaned up the rubble, we had to rebuild the country that was ravaged by corruption and inequality. Is this starting to sound familiar? My faith drew me to that mission. My faith tells me that we all band together, we all do better. Sisters and brothers, we need to stand together now. Our strength benefits all Wisconsin families. Brothers and sisters, I have faith in you, and I'll be standing beside you today, tomorrow, and always. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Darren. Next, I'd like to introduce John Havlicek, who's from a teacher from La Crosse. John.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice. I'm here to show support for our causes that unite all of Wisconsin. As labor goes, so goes our state. When Governor Walker first launched his attack on labor 4 years ago, many of you were here. I looked around, I saw carpenters, I saw plumbers, firemen, you name it. Now, I want everyone here today to know that we stand with you. We stand united in our quest to improve the lives of everyone in Wisconsin. We live the credo that we are stronger when we stand together. We believe that if one of us is hurting, we're all hurting. Some legislators are again trying to attack their political opponents with no regard for whom they hurt in the process. We must stand together not in anger or hatred or attack, but in honesty and courage. We must realize that this battle will not be won quickly or easily, but we will fight today and we will fight tomorrow. But we don't just fight for ourselves, but we also fight for our neighbors and our communities. We use this opportunity to reforge our common bonds. We must unite the union members with the individuals. We must unite the factory workers with the office workers, the church leaders with the civic leaders, the labor leaders and the political leaders. We must reach across this contrived political divide, this false narrative of hatred for those who disagree with us, to do what is best for all the citizens of this great state. We must see our neighbors as our family members, because when we do this, we can accomplish anything.
And now, brothers and sisters, I rise to introduce Tyrone Sutton, who's a member of the United Food and Commercial Workers. Tyrone.
Brothers and sisters, first I'd like to establish and say solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. I came all the way from Kenosha to be with my brothers and sisters today. My name is Tyrone Sutton, and I've been a member of UFCW for 5 years now. I drove all the way here this morning to Madison because I wanted to stand in solidarity with you today. With all of you to oppose this so-called right to work legislation. This legislation will hurt everyone in our state, and I mean everyone who is not a CEO of a huge company. Plain and simple, I am here with you today because politicians inside this state capitol should know that we will not back down. I said we will not back down. I said we will not back down. We will not be silent while they try quickly to push through a bill that will, number one, lower wages, attack our benefits, and destroy our rights in the workplace. We will not back down because the stakes are too high. I said the stakes are too high. We will not back down. We know that the unions provide the opportunity for everyday people to get fair wages, have success to health care for themselves and for their kids, and to live with dignity and respect. Because since I've been part of UFCW, Local 1473, that's all I had was dignity. That's all I get is respect. That's all I give is respect. Because I love this union and what it has done for me and my family. So I asked our elected officials at the Capitol, what do they have against fair wages? What do they have against access to health care and retirement security? And what do they have against Wisconsinites seeking dignity and respect for themselves? Being in a union has allowed me to finally achieve the stability I need in my life to support my son, to give him the future he deserves. My son, Tyrone Jr., he's 10 right now, and he's already ready to go to work and save money. That's the future right there. Right to work is bad for Wisconsin. All of Wisconsin. Plain and simple. So let's be loud today and let's make them hear us. Solidarity forever! Republican sayings against Republicans. Abraham Lincoln said it best. He said, if any man tells you he loves America, yet hates labor, he is a liar. No, he went further. He said, if any man tells you he trusts America, yet fears labor, he is a fool. So we realize that there are strength in numbers. So it is time for us, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us, brothers and sisters, to stop believing this senseless rhetoric about shared sacrifice. And our state is broke, and start working for what our members have earned in the past. Because if you believe about shared sacrifice and that our state is broke, as a wise man once said, you've been hoodwinked, you've been bamboozled, you've been led astray, you've been run amok, you've been duped, you've been misled. We have to work hard for what our people have earned in the past. It is time to start educating our members, not just servicing our members as unions. We got to mobilize, galvanize, and educate our young members, and bring the young members to these rallies, because this is really about their future, right? And it is time to say that I'm a proud union member. Don't hide from the fact that you are a union member. Unions help build this country. Are you a proud union member? Are you proud to be part of a union? So am I. We need to fight for jobs. We need to have an unshakable spirit. An unshakable spirit to fight for good jobs, good public education, help for the poor, and make sure our middle class is still strong in this state. We have to keep fighting, because you cannot be finished. I'm not finished. Nobody out here can be finished. Our resolve has to be stronger. Our pain has to last longer, and our passion has to run deeper. Because this is bigger than you, this is bigger than me. This is about justice, and this is about history. And I guarantee when it's all said and done, we'll be on the right side of justice and the right side of history. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Are we fired up? Are we fired up? Are we fired up? Let's go get them.
In Milwaukee, you said that they're understanding it as, when you say bringing in workers that can't speak the language, can you elaborate just a little bit more that this is a deliberate strategy by Minute?
We've run into facilities where we've had people to organize, and they've taken the union organizers out, and they've replaced them with people who could not speak English. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they also don't teach them the health and safety rules. They utilize them in ways that they shouldn't be in the workforce. And when they don't know their rights inside of the workplace, in non-union workplaces and in unionized workplaces, they can hurt themselves. Some of our employees don't care about people's work. They only want the output of their labor. Labor has dignity. It's about respect, and it's about making sure that you have respect that you need. Well, this is a real simple thing. The Democrats are standing with us, and the Republicans are standing against us. And this is just straight up and down. Look, they haven't had time to really look at this bill. The bill was introduced on Friday. But of course they've probably seen it because, like I said, it's all ALEC stuff. It's just a cookie cutter stuff that they got from ALEC.
So for labor leaders, have they been able to pour over it? I mean, have they?
Yeah, we looked at it. We looked at it. Our legal teams have digested it. We know what it is. It's standard right to work rap. It's stuff that we've seen before. So, as we like to say, it is what it is.
Reporting for Channel 14 and Southeast Wisconsin Labor News. Joining me is a hearing on the right to work legislation. Myself and Phil Haney have been documenting it all day. We're here to bring you some more information as we go forward, as this bill proposed goes forward.
We can talk a little bit about training, and he sits on the Apprenticeship Advisory Council. I'd like to mention that some of the work rules throughout the entirety of union contracts across the length and breadth
of this state. This should be a no-brainer. It shouldn't have even appeared before us today, but it's one more step in Scott Walker's mythical quest for the presidency. That's why we're here today. And make no mistake about it. I urge you, I pray that there's one more vote on the Republican side of the aisle to defeat this bill and to give us the dignity and the integrity as unionized workers that we deserve.
Senator Larson.
Thanks. Jerry, you still driving the bus?
I am.
I haven't seen you on there in a while. I haven't taken it as much. I know I've run into you while you're driving in Milwaukee. Thank you for coming in and speaking and being heard. It reminded me of a previous person in ATU who also had a background in faith, who was standing up for worker rights and standing up for the little guy. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Well, I was there the minute he died.
Yeah. You let everybody know who we're talking about?
Father James E. Groppe, the class of 1959.
That's right. That's right. Former ATU president.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay.
Thanks for your testimony. Tom O'Grady.
To take care of ourselves as totally independent. I'm just my own boss and things like that. That's not true. That's not the case. We need to listen to our egos less and be more humble. We're humble when we go to the polls. To do democracy, we have to humble down and admit, I only deserve one bit of the say. I only get one vote. To do democracy, we need to be humble and honest. Same thing with when we're participating in this decision about whether or not to weaken unions with this legislation. I'm humble enough to be honest enough to admit my interdependence, and I invite everyone else considering this issue to review their motives with the same kind of thinking. And in conclusion, I thank God I get to live here in Wisconsin. I was raised in Des Plaines, Illinois, in O'Hare Field. I've been here since '82. Thank God my wife consented to marry me, so I have green card and I have papers so I can get to stay. Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Senator Wirtz.
Thank you for your testimony. I heard you say one key little phrase that I haven't heard before. Weaken unions for political reasons. I agree with you. We've run the figures before. We Democrats always get outspent by Republicans, and I think that that's part of this. Unions, at least, and let's be realistic now. Unions are shrinking in size, so they get less money, less dues coming in, but that's not good enough. The majority party wants to destroy them, and they can do this through right to work, cut off the dues money, and weaken unions for political reasons. So I think you stumbled on something there in your testimony. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions at this time?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Have a nice night.
There are a lot of us out there that don't want to be involved and to work in a place where we have to give our money to help organizations that we disagree with. And unfortunately, that small contribution that they talk about that's going to PACs, that coming back is not enough. There should be no reason that I should be compelled to have to help support any kind of cause that I don't believe in. I believe in the American values. I believe in freedom. The Bradley Foundation is one that's been brought up today. I can say emphatically, Senator, that I am not paid for by the Bradley Foundation. I'm here. I'm actually out looking for work right now. I'm unemployed, so I was able to be here. I am here today in a suit and tie as to show respect to your entire committee, but I frankly would be more comfortable in a Carhartt jacket and jeans like a lot of the gentlemen here that are representing the union. But I have to say that I can't see how forcing anyone to pay for something and be involved in an organization that they don't want to be involved in is at all fair. It would be the same to me as if we said that you had to join the National Rifle Association in order to buy a hunting license. It's a fair comparison. We could call those other people freeloaders for not fighting for the Second Amendment rights and hunting rights. But I wouldn't do that to those people. I wouldn't disrespect people like that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Senator Wirtz?
Well, let's talk a little freedom. I mentioned before I'm an investor, and I've introduced a bill on this. I think I'm getting ripped off. I buy AT&T stock. I've got a couple other stocks. They take my money and put it into political donations without ever telling me, without ever any accountability, whatever. So it can be some CEO's idea of politics that I'm paying for. And I believe buying stock is a financial decision, not a political decision. So it happens on both sides.
If I understand it, sir, you'd be free to research any company you're going to invest in and invest in the ones that you wish to.
Well, how can you research if you don't have the information? They don't provide it. There's no accountability. But yeah, I'm just saying it's on both sides.
Well, they would presumably have to report to the feds on when they spend their elections.
I would assume so as well.
Any other questions? Senator?
I just want to say how happy I am that we finally have somebody who's here not paid for by the Bradley Foundation. I feel like I can finally step away.
Well, actually, you cannot say that.
Thank you. I'm proud to speak on behalf of a lot of the people in the Oshkosh area that told me they supported and would love to be here, but they were worried about that intimidation that has been talked about. That through the Act 10, we saw a lot of different things. In previous political involvement, I've had my life and my wife's life threatened, and you know, it's something that people have to think about. It's a real thing.
Senator Weingart.
Thank you. I just want to say that I don't know what's so bad about the Bradley Foundation grants. Too bad you don't get a grant.
Right.
There's at least 8 or 9 different organizations that are in the Senator Larson's district that do at least $90,000 each. So I would be proud to have them putting money into my district. So I don't know what's so bad about the Bradleys.
I would agree.
I can tell you.
Senator Markline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. I would prefer to be my Carhartts too, so
right.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just like any other job, individuals need to weigh everything involved before they decide where they want to work. Paying dues is just a condition of the job. If you don't like paying dues, go work somewhere else. There are plenty of non-union construction companies to work for. As a foreman, I rely on 2 major characteristics of carpenters in my crews. They have to be highly skilled and they have to be safe. Both are provided by training and provided by the carpenters. Already a very dangerous job. We see accidents, major accidents every couple times a year. And working with an untrained crew would put an enormous burden on myself. I'm not able to be watching 20, 30 guys at once all over a building. Harmony on a job site is everything. A freeloader on a construction crew is certain to cause problems, ultimately hurting construction projects. In closing, I urge you not to expedite such an important issue in such an unethical and unprofessional approach. The one thing that I ask is that you please do not run this through, but let constituents speak to their representatives. Give them some time. As I always tell my children, make sure that you think through your actions and the results that may occur. This may not be a 5-year thing. It may not be a 10-year thing. But this could be down the road that really hurts Wisconsin, and the next generation is depending on it. I respectfully ask that you not support this right to work bill. Like others in the state, I'm also losing sleep. My family deserves better, and through the great training I've been provided, I've earned it. Thank you, committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members, for a minute to speak with you. I hope all of you are listening to and considering the public testimony you're hearing now as much as the long, drawn-out expert testimony we heard earlier today. Many of us have already been sitting here for 7 hours waiting to hear our voices heard. So I will keep my comments brief, and those of you who know me, that's pretty exceptional. My name is Betsy Kippers. I'm the president of the Wisconsin Education Association Council. I represent educators from across the state And our major purpose is to advocate for the 865,000 public school students across the state, because this is about our kids and our communities. I'm here today to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 44, commonly referred to as the Right to Work Bill, but as we call it, the Right to Work for Less. And why do we say that? Well, I believe you heard testimony earlier this morning that says many states that have gone down this path have indeed seen depression of local economies. We heard Senate Bill 44 will move our state backward, not forward. And we need to continue to support the value of forward thinking that Wisconsin has always had. Our families and communities deserve more, and they need strong family supporting jobs, and that's what unions created throughout the history of their existence. Wisconsin has a proud tradition of supporting all working families, and we started this by being one of the first places to have great unions. Let's not ignore this value. You know, as an educator, I know firsthand the devastating impact of legislation such as SB 44. I know what it can do to your workers. Act 10 significantly impacted the educators I represent, and it impacted their lives and their families and their children. And that's what we need to prevent by passing another similar type bill. We need to protect the hardworking people of Wisconsin. You know, I come from a family who believed in always improving the quality of life for the next generation. We started with small farms and moved up to manufacturing, and I'm actually, because of all their hard work, the first college graduate of a family of 6, because my family and my grandparents' families and so many more always worked to improve the working conditions throughout this state. We need to make sure we keep families like those of many I worked with in Racine. Many of the families I worked with in Racine came from low wages. They were struggling to provide basic quality health care for their kids, and they saw no future in retirement because they had no pension. Why are we not trying to fight to build up everyone to the level we have fought for through our unions, to have quality working wages that support a living family, to provide health insurance so our children get what they need so that they can be educated and they can continue to support us? And thirdly, what's wrong with having a pension so that those who have worked 30, 40, and 50 years of their lives have a quality of life as a senior? Is that too much to ask for? And that's what we as unions have fought for throughout our history. So let's not drag anyone down with Senate Bill 44. But let's rather try to lift everyone up by pursuing policies and strategies that will lead to more family-supporting jobs and growing our economy. I urge you, Wisconsin is counting on you to do the right thing and vote no on Senate Bill 44. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you. John,
what do you want to tell the people of Kenosha about the events here? Obviously, we couldn't bring everybody from Kenosha, but what do you want to tell them to express what's going on?
I really wish everyone could have came, especially from Kenosha, so that they could understand what's really going on and how this affects the community directly. The passing of this bill will serve a great impact on southeastern Wisconsin. This bill is affecting people, and me in particular, people who has finally gotten a start to live their lives responsibly, people who has finally become productive members of society, people who has finally gained job skills, people who are finally able to provide Medicaid, Medicare for their family, people who are able to feed their families. Through the union, we have learned skilled trades, we have learned to persevere, and it makes the individual feel good to press on when we know that someone has our back, when we know that someone is protecting our rights, protecting the rights of the people. It gives us that strength to just want to just carry on and just do things productive and just involve everybody and just spread the good news on what this means to us and how it affects people.
Now, you know, there's been a lot of poverty in Kenosha and joblessness, and the governor recently with the casino and passed on that. What do you have to say directly to the governor? Because he's obviously behind a lot of this push to lower the wages.
Yes, the governor is behind all of this, and I really would like the governor to know that being a part of a union, especially Local 1473, there has been a lot of people, myself included, and people that I know that have really took a back seat on life in the past. You know, and they also felt that, you know, there's nothing else, and some people have given up. But I'm here to let the world know that being a part of a union is like your second chance. It's giving you that second win. People haven't had job skills, haven't acquired job skills, haven't had education. The education was minimum. But being a part of the locals, they exercise education, and they promote healthy families. They promote longevity on the job. Some of us never had longevity. Some of us, like myself, jumped from temp service to temp service. One day this temp service might have a job for you. The next day this temp service, that's no stability there. With the union, we have stability. That's why we say solidarity. Solidarity goes a long way. We're solid all the way around the board, and all the needs of the people are being met.
Have you talked lastly with some of the folks in Kenosha about this? Because I think sometimes folks get kind of confused about it's about the union issue, but as you pointed out in the rally today, it's about working people. It's about jobs. It's related to stability.
I have talked to some individuals, especially some of my co-workers. A lot of them, you know, they really didn't understand what was going on. And some people, you're right, they do think that it's all about the union. And I'm here to tell you, the one thing that the part that the union play in this is that they got your back. They are here to protect the rights of the people while you carry on and live your life responsibly. We are productive members of society. We are taxpayers. Now, if all of this be stripped from us, no guarantee for work, low wages, joblessness, that puts people back to what they're used to doing. And some people will come up with other ideas to make money, you know, and it keeps people out the streets. You know, having employment, having a job, and just being a man, it makes a difference. You know, and people are attacking the union because they know that the union is strengthening people. They know that the union is making people more independent. They know that this union is a solid foundation, and they know if they take it from up under your feet, what the result's gonna be. You talk about crime, you can expect for it to go up. You talk about poverty, it'll never go anywhere.
That sounds good.
I have a phone call. Hello? Where are you from? Oh, okay.
Sure, let's just step over
It was apparent to me that there were more people that wanted to testify, and they stopped the hearing and took the vote, as I understand it.
Did you see the vote happen, or did they stop the hearing?
Well, that's a good question. It happened so fast, I can't say that I heard what the vote was. I think some of the Democratic members of the Senate were hard pressed to get they wanted to talk more. They wanted to debate this bill. is my understanding from what I could see happening, and that it's my understanding that Representative Nass, the chairman, didn't want to debate the bill.
And there was somebody who was stopped in the middle of their testimony,
is
and
what it
then
looked like to me.
vote right then?
That's right. I think, yes, it sounds like the gentleman wasn't finished. Whether that had to do with time running out or whatever, I'm not sure what the rules were at that point.
Did you hear anybody vote?
It was hard to hear anything. What I did hear is that Senator Larson kept repeatedly asked, are we going to debate this? And that was about the end of it, and that didn't happen.
Did they set any reason for shutting down the meeting?
Not a lot of talking happened, not from the Republicans. They decided that they were going to get up and leave is what they wanted to do, and they did.
So basically you're saying that there was a testimony and they called it arbitrarily, or because I thought it was going to go to 7 o'clock, maybe that's
right. Well, again, I could only try to figure out what I saw and what was happening. They were going through a lot of lists, a lot of names very quickly, and they were looking around to see if those people were present to testify. And I don't know, maybe they're going to say that those lists ran out and it was then time to vote.
Senator Nass was setting a threat from the Journal Sentinel. Did you hear anything about that? And do you think that's a reason to dismiss a hearing abruptly?
There was some talk about this threat. Again, I don't know exactly what that means. Some people were guessing as to what that means. I did see a story by reporter Jason Stein talking about a union saying they wouldn't, something about if it ended early, that they were going to peacefully protest that. So I don't know what more to say on that.
Representative, that the speaker, one of the speakers was interrupted and they did a preemptive vote.
Yeah.
Tell me more. How did that,
what happened was that the chair of the committee, Nass, decided to cut off the public hearing to no longer listen to the hundreds of people that were on the waiting list to speak. Because he referenced a Milwaukee Journal Sentinel that said that there was a credible threat of interruption by SEIU and VOSES, and thus they needed to immediately close the proceedings and go to a closed executive session. This is, obviously there was no interruption, so there was no basis to not listen to the people. But part of the justification for closing that session, I think, is the session itself. This is being fast-tracked. There is no sincerity, there is no honesty about saying he wants to listen to the people, and I think that's what that represented.
Interesting. So they even managed to be nimble enough to squeeze off a vote even in that interim, because there was some confusion about that, if a vote was actually taken or...
There was no vote taken. They said that they didn't need to listen to any more people. They would just count what people stood on the issue. The vast overwhelming majority of people who on short notice traveled great distances, came to give their testimony and against this forced to work for less legislation. And so there was absolutely no basis to not take a public vote and to hear everybody out.
Well, thank you very much for being on the inside. I was on the inside earlier and heard a few things, but then it seemed like everything stopped all at once.
Yeah. I mean, they made the decision. There is still a session going on because Senator Larson and Senator Wirch made the decision to still listen to people who had signed up on the list. And so people who were signed up, it is Senator Wirch and Senator Larson who have continued to receive people.
Thank you very much.
Waylaid by the press. I thought I was late. Hey, Randy. Good to see you. This is what got shut down. I was waiting in line. I was on the list. This is the guy that ran against Van Wanger. Yeah, that's right. Where's Larson?
I don't know if he's down yet. I was gonna.
Do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? I'm sorry. What happened? Did they have? Did they interrupt?
No, they pulled a fast vote, and it was 3-1. And Larson insisted on talking on the bill, and then they just cut it off and went out.
So is it still going on, or is
no?
No,
it's been voted out.
Okay.
If you and Chris are
see how it was going. I think I lost count, but I think we were at over 25 people in a row who come out against it. And not a single person, again, who came out in favor of it wasn't paid for by right-wing think tanks. And I think that's pretty telling of exactly where the support's coming from. It's not coming from the people. It's coming from out-of-state interests. It's coming from corporate think tanks. What type of debate do you expect in this? I mean, if it's anything like this, it'll be one-sided. I think they're just going to sit there in their seats and hope that people in the public don't notice how bad this is today, how much this is going to hurt our state. I mean, I feel bad because there's a lot of people in the state who don't realize that this debate is happening. They didn't get clear answers today of what RTW does, and they don't understand that this is going to end up hurting wages for everyone, not just those who are in unions. Most people don't have a strong opinion on it. I think we even saw that WMC, by their own admission, less than 10% of their members actually came out and gave an opinion of whether for or against it. So most people don't know what this bill does or what this is supposed to do. Senator Wirtz, did you have a chance to vote?
Yes, I voted no, of course, but there was a bum's rush. There was a lot of noise. We were sitting up on the stage, you could barely hear what they were saying. But they called out the vote. They were uncomfortable. Everyone was against their bill, and they ran out the side door. The shameful thing is they talked about a threat. Who surrounded cops up there? We had troopers, everyone up there. I have never felt so safe as I did up there. It was a con job to get out of there, and they delivered for the Koch brothers. That's what happened.
The image many people will see tonight on the news is all the Republicans being let out by the What does that image say about the state of democracy?
Well, it was a false threat. You know, I'm always amazed at the Republicans. They stick it to working people, and then they're shocked when they get angry. Hello? What's going on out there?
Was there senators that Republican senators that would maybe even consider changing?
Well, we heard testimony from a union guy who said Senator Gudex promised him in his union hall he's going to vote against it. We heard that.
When did he make that promise? 2 hours ago. Today?
That's the testimony we heard from a labor guy that when Gudex visited his union hall. We'll see tomorrow.
Was there anybody who spoke in favor that wasn't funded by the Bradley Foundation, as you mentioned? I mean, was there any legitimate support for the right to work legislation?
There was nobody that I heard. I stepped out to eat for a quick bit, but there was nobody that I heard. There was one person who we thought wasn't associated with the Bradley Foundation. As soon as I said that publicly, I got about 5 text messages and 2 phone calls to the office to make sure that they knew that, yeah, he had actually worked with a group affiliated with the Bradley Foundation, which is a right-wing think tank that funds this kind of extreme legislation. So I didn't see a single person, I didn't hear a single person who came out in favor of this, who again wasn't paid for by a right-wing think tank, or wasn't somebody who was browbeaten by Fitzgerald.